So in San Diego, there's a company called Solar Industries, or I think it's just Solar, and they build turbines for jet engines. And they sometimes reach out, they send guest speakers out, and they talk about some of the math skills and things needed in their industry. And they have an aptitude test. They have some basic math problems, reading an invoice, just some real basic foundation type skills on there. So I adopted that into my classes, and the first week of class, one of the things I do is give the students this test. And then that is the one test throughout the year that I go through and I grade it question per question. Most of my other tests, I use electronic grading. This one I do physical grading. And I have one low scoring student on each team and one high scoring student on each team. And what ends up happening is naturally that high scoring student will help that low scoring student, and the groups all tend to move at the same pace throughout the school year. And then everyone else that's in between, I kind of jumble into those groups. So what does the rocker arm system, can you guys explain to me how it works? Are you there yet? Part of the suspension? Are we in suspensions class or engines class? Engines, right? So the rocker arm's part of the engine system. So what are you looking at here? Are you on Google? Valve rocker shaft rear bolt. That's part of the engine. Okay, so that is in the engine. See the spring? That's like a valve spring that opens, the valve spring closes the valve. The rocker arm pushes it open. Okay, so then there's a push rod that pushes here. This opens the valve, the push rod pushes here, and then when the camshaft lobe goes down, the spring pushes it back closed.
So the rocker arm just basically opens and closes the
It's a pivot point to push the valve open and close. Okay. There's a zero tolerance on cell phones in the classroom in this at this campus. I told the students, get your phones out and upload your poster. So the assignment was they were doing we're supposed to do a valve adjustment activity, and the challenge is right now I don't have any engines with adjustable valves. So I modify the lessons to accommodate what I have. And in this lesson, we did a little lecture on valves and valve adjustment, and I then opened it up to a few different categories, and I assigned a different category to each group. Each group works together, they build a poster, and typically what I have them do is present their portion of that poster, and they present it in front of the classroom. Sometimes I give them the option to build a PowerPoint as well. So I had them build posters, which meets all of my standards still. They're going to get all the information. They're going to see some video about how that gets done. And then the posters will get hung in the classroom, but also when they take a picture of that poster and they upload it onto my Moodle website, I have evidence that they did work according to what the standards are, and I could always refer back to that, click on that submittal, and pull it up for anybody who would like to see it. I can print it out for that student if they want it for their portfolio or anything like that. So even though we have a zero tolerance policy, sometimes you have to, go against the rules for the operation of the classroom, and I think the students respect that. Sometimes, once in a while I'll catch a student who will take advantage, and then I make a huge deal about it, and then that doesn't happen again. But most of the time they do it, and I'll tell you at the college, the instructors are expecting them to be able to use that technology. Okay, the instructors don't want a stack of papers anymore. They want their stuff uploaded. I can't do hard deadlines. Hard deadlines typically don't work for me, but in my classroom, when I start a lesson, I know what the end result's supposed to look like. And for me, and this might be true for other teachers, for me to say, okay, we're going to be done with this much of the lesson by this time on this day, I find like that's not really realistic when you are accommodating some of the students that we talked about earlier. So staying organized for me is a way to be able to take those students who are finished, those higher level students, and give them an additional task without going too far, right? They're doing something different. They're still learning a skill. And then that gives me a chance to work with the other students. So I created charts for myself. I keep a daily calendar. I keep a book with a list of things. If there's something I want to implement in my class, if there's something that I need to order, if there's supplies that I need to ask for or order or something like that, I write it in that book. I keep my calendar for events where if I have, last week I hosted a meeting for AYES and Toyota. They held a meeting here. I got to keep that stuff in my calendar. Scholarship deadlines. I mean, you got to stay organized somewhat, but you also need to be loose about it because you are dealing with hundreds of students a day, and there's going to be changes. And I feel like I'm really good personally at adjusting to change. Sometimes we have a situation where a car doesn't cooperate, and it's not the student's fault. It's just, oh, this car, it's not cooperating for this lesson. So instead of stop everything, it's, hey, I'll tell you guys what, let's turn in the keys for this car, go try that car. Or, hey, let me take a look, and maybe I can fix it in 2 minutes, and then we can continue on. Or it might be something, in my third period class today, I said, hey guys, your groups B and D, your cars are not ready for this activity. Why don't you guys team up with a different group? So sometimes a little flexibility allows for a lot of learning.